Hello everyone, this is Frank DeMore from the End Times Research Ministry. If you'd like to go over to my website, you see the address below. And while you're there, you'll be able to get my documentary, The Last Chronicles of Planet Earth, today for free. It's a free download. Just click that link. You can tap into my book. Now, what I want to do, first of all, is to show you the Word of the Lord, or at least read it to you, so that you understand where I'm going as I connect the dots. I'm going to be reading from Matthew chapter 24, and I'm going to start in verse 37. And this is a prophecy about what the last generation is going to look like, the characteristics. That's what I'm talking about, the characteristics of the people living in the last days. These are Jesus' words, starting in verse 37. But as in the days of Noah were, so also, or so shall also, the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So what we do know from Jesus is the last day, that generation is going to see the characteristics emerge again, just like Noah's generation. And we know from Luke, also the Gospel of Luke, that the days of Lot, where homosexuality was running rampant, just like in the days of Noah, it was going to happen again. And of course, the world is on the road moving very, very swiftly to this characteristic that we saw back in Lot's generation and Noah's generation. Now, there's some disturbing news for a lot of Christians, obviously, and I want to show you what this disturbing news is, because the characteristics are here again in the last generation. No other generation has seen what we're seeing, and this is a major prophecy that shows us that we're very close to the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. There's an article that came out today, and it's called Chilling Implications. The largest bank asks workers if they support homosexuality. Let's take a look at the article. It says the largest bank in the United States now allegedly requires its employees to state whether or not they are supporters of homosexual lifestyle. First of all, what business does the bank have to ask these employees? Let me go on. It says J.P. Morgan Chase, headquartered in New York City, is the United States' largest bank with the total assets of over $2.5 trillion. The bank has overtly supported homosexuality for several years, appearing in several gay parade events and even offering a number of special benefits to bank employees who identify as LGBT. In other words, if they identify themselves as gay, a homosexuality movement. Now J.P. Morgan Chase has taken their LGBT support even further, reportedly requiring all their employees to voice whether or not they support the so-called LGBT community. And according to the Princeton University professor Robert George, the bank recently surveyed their workers, asking them to state which of the following descriptions applied to them. Now get this. Number one, a person with disabilities. Number two, a person with children with disabilities. Number three, a person with a spouse, domestic partner with disabilities. Number four, a member of the LGBT community. Or number five, an ally of the LGBT community, but not personally identifying as LGBT. Now the article also says an unnamed individual who has worked at J.P. Morgan Chase for 11 years first alerted George of the unprecedented survey. The employee told George, who is chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, that the questionnaire had many of us scratching our heads. What kind of question was that? The employee who had wondered. An ally of that community? What's the alternative if you don't select that option? You're not an ally of the LGBT community? The employee further explained that the survey was not anonymous, since it required everyone to enter personal identification information. The implications, he suggests, are chilling. And they are. Article goes on to say, with the way things are going and the fact that LGBT rights are being viewed as pretty much tantamount to the civil rights movement in the mid-50s and the 60s, not selecting that option is essentially saying, I'm not an ally of civil rights, which is a vague way to say, I'm a bigot, he told George. The worry among many of us is that those who didn't select the poorly placed, irrelevant option will be placed on the you can fire these people first list. And of course, who are they really targeting? Well, if you want to get into it, you have to be targeting Christians, because the Christians, at least if you're really walking with the Lord, are taking a stand, holding on to sound doctrine, and they would be the ones who would be obviously not supporting the gay right movement. Now, that doesn't mean that the Christians have to hate the people, because no one is supposed to hate anybody if you love Jesus. But the fact of the matter is, he doesn't want us to support it because it's definitely against the word of the Lord and the lifestyle. And as Christ showed us, the characteristics are not the kind of characteristics that God approves of. So here we have another one of those signs leading to, down the road, persecution to anyone who is anti-LGBT. And most of those people, obviously, will be Christians. And of course, the Lord Jesus did tell us that in the last days, the Christians would be persecuted. And we're seeing more and more of it. This is Frank DeMora from the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth, the author of that book, saying, please pay attention to what's going on around you, because most of the news that we're seeing nowadays is connected right to Bible prophecy.